Welcome everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. And we got the week 3 recaps of the World Cup for Disney Speedstorm. Just before I start off, I wanna give a shout out and more of a tribute to Duff, one of I believe Europe's racers, who had passed away over the weekend. And we held a memorial for him just this past weekend in honor for Duff, where people went out, did like a mini tournament, raced as Donald Duck because that was his guy, and a lot of people showed out for that event. So, also want to give a round of applause for those who pulled up and showed out for him because I know Europe's probably taking it a bit different because that's their teammate, so it probably hit them hardest the most. But I also feel like hit the community as a whole the most because a lot of people were either intertwined or attached to this person or this individual just because everyone seems to have their time in the sun with this guy. Everyone has had their moment with him, so we
Mm-hmm.
definitely got to give up some flowers to Duff and rest in peace. You want to add
Yeah,
anything to
man.
that, Nano?
Yeah, man. Definitely rest in peace to the homie Duff. Duff is one of my homies on Speedstorm. He's a really great guy. Um, I wish everybody really got a chance to interact with him in the community because he was nothing but supportive and he always made jokes and on top of being an amazing dude and an amazing person, he was literally like a top player. Like he was really good at the game. He's an OG player, man. He's been playing the game since day one, season one. So you know, rest in peace to the homie Duff. And, everybody has been getting their Donalds to UC or Grand Champ. You know, to pay tribute to him since he loved Donald Duck. And I feel like the community was hit hard with that one. We lost a good one, but I feel like we handled it the best way we could. So, you know, shout outs to everybody. We came through together to support, a lost one, a very good one. And, he lives strong in all of us. And I do also want to do another shout out to, you know, Nell for proposing we host the um
The
a
mini
tribute
tournament.
tournament
Yep.
for Duff. And I wasn't unfortunately I was working so I couldn't attend, but I heard it was a nice turnout and people had fun and it was lit. It was lit. I watched back some of Caleb's stream because he was in it and it was pretty lit, man. Shout out to Paulie for getting the W, you know. So, you know, I'm just glad that everybody was able to come together for a common cause and support the homie.
Yep.
So R.I.P. Duff.
Definitely, I want to say shows the community and the camaraderie that we have for each other, even though we are competitors. The same way we came together in defense for Peru in the last tournament hosting, same way we can come together for an individual from another team, even though we might be going at each other for the rights to call our country the best country in terms of this tournament. But apart from that, on a brighter note, we're back with the recap. Yes, it's been a week where no races have gone on because we're just having a moment for Duff. But all bets are off the table now. We're back on, so we got to do a recap before these new races come out, and we got to do another recap for those. So to start us off, we have none other than Belgium versus Spain. So Nano, take it away here.
Yeah, man. So for week 3, we got Belgium versus Spain. Um, this one it's probably not going to be that long of a recap for this specific match because I'm not going to lie, Belgium came and they're saying we're tired of getting them L's, man. So they Belgium, they were on a mission because they really put the hurt on Spain. And I don't remember. Oh, I actually do have the end score. So throughout this whole match, um, was this the match where Spain? Oh, yeah. So to start off, Spain only had 3 people versus Belgium, and we already know once that happens, it's basically GG's from there.
Yep.
Um, that happened with the same thing happened with Peru when they went up against Europe,
Yep. That was last
but
week.
yeah, but Peru even got the you know the benefit of their fourth member coming halfway through the races.
Yes.
Spain weren't even as lucky as that. So, you know, throughout the whole race, they were consistently getting, you know, the least amount of points possible because of that. I kind of feel bad for Starmondo because on top of the team not performing as well as they wanted to be performing, you end up in a pivotal match where you would want to try to get the W to get your team on track,
Yep.
and you're missing a squad member. So I know that was probably like a gut punch. Um, but yeah, overall, Spain only had 3 people. I have here in my notes that from Team Belgium, they performed really well. You know, the homie Manji coming through, he did great as their brawler, and he finished with 56 points. Camster Boss did great as their defender. So both Camster Boss and Manji were basically just like kind of dominating.
Yeah, they showed
And
out.
Camster Boss was their defender, was Belgium defender, and it was 60 points. But even though it was pretty one sided, especially with Spain only having 3 people, um, shout outs to Starmondo because he did end up getting the most points on his team with 38. So even though Spain hasn't been performing the best, or they've kind of been on like on the downside of matchups, Starmondo and his team, they still try to fight, which I can always respect.
Yep.
You know, they still realize that they're in the tournament, and at the end of the day, they still got some integrity that they gotta upkeep. So shouts out to Starmondo and Team Spain. Um, is there? I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Looking at the end score, Team Belgium beat Spain by
Almost a
literally,
hundred, man.
yeah. No, they did beat them by 100. They beat them by
Oh
108
yeah, you're
points.
right. Almost by 200. That's what I meant to say.
But yeah, it was not the prettiest sight. But hey, man, that just goes to show that I'm not gonna lie. Even if Spain had their fourth player, I don't even know if they would have really been able to keep up with Belgium because they were on a tear. Monji and Boss still took over. So,
Yep. Also, my bad.
shouts out to Belgium.
Not almost a 200 win. They almost had 200 points.
Yeah.
That would have been wild.
Hmm.
I honestly, there's nothing I can really say about Spain. If if I were to give both Spain and Peru an advice heading into maybe a future tournament, honestly, I would look at either seeing who's the best racer in your country, trying to get them signed up for the tournament, or come together and make a team Latin or something like that. Because if you can pull together the best players from both teams or both sides, I think that team would fare a lot better. Like if we had Alexander and Starmondo on the same team, I think they'd be in a position like Belgium is right now. What do you think?
Yeah, some sound advice. Yeah, I think that's definitely something they could do. There's always that advice of your first tournament experience is always going to be like probably like the most growing pains
Yep,
because it's your first time. But I do think once you get in your first tournament, you could then start working on improvements, and then hopefully everybody gets the drive to just want to better themselves and become stronger racers, because there definitely will be more tournaments in the future. So I think just trying to get better, put the time in, you know, that's the best advice, man. Don't give up. Don't let this be, you don't got to be down about it. I mean, you can, but you don't want to stay down.
exactly.
There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, so keep on pushing.
And even though at this point both Peru and Spain are mathematically disqualified in terms of making it to the knockout stages, still put on a show because you still got people from your country tuning in to watch you guys, and I'm sure they want to cheer for you guys and see you guys do your best regardless of the results. And who knows, maybe just by showing perseverance or dedication, even though you guys are given a bad hand, the people watching from your country might see that and say, "Yo, I'm signing up for the next tournament because I don't want to see my guys out there looking like that, and I want to try and help them." And if that's the case, the more people you get willing to race for your team and your country, the better it is in terms of like having a team like Team USA, where you have a lot of entrants and you can host an inner tournament to get the best races possible and available for you guys to show up for a tournament.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. Pretty much.
So for Spain and Peru, it's not over for you guys yet. Keep racing, you know, still bring that fire because, you want to give your best to your opponents, and your opponents definitely want to give their best to you because that's how we show respect when we game.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Definitely more work to be made, more matches. And it's not really over till it's over, so keep trying your best and put your best foot forward. I'm still looking forward to Peru's and Spain's next matches and seeing how they'll respond.
Yes. But as Nano said, the top players out of this race was Cam's Turbos and Manji. Manji's been on a tear for Belgium lately, so it's nothing different from what we've been seeing. And definitely Starmondo for holding it together as the captain for Spain.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
moving on from this race, we also had, I believe, Team USA and Peru.
Yeah. Team USA versus Peru. So here's the thing. A lot of people had USA as the favorites to win this match,
Yep.
which is completely understandable. But the thing is, even though that might be the case, you never really want to be overconfident because you never know what could happen.
Yep.
So, you know, this is also another one of the races where we wanted to put people in that haven't raced before. And, we still had two more people left on our team that hasn't raced in the World Cup yet, which was Jackal, TTV, and Pro Gamer. So we added them into the mix up. We wanted to see them go crazy because those are two strong races on our team. And yeah, man, they put in work, man. They put in work. USA versus Peru. I guess the race, it was pretty one sided. I'm not gonna sit here and like sugarcoat anything, but I still think Peru, they tried really hard and they tried their best, man. And um, I think it just shows how strong USA is as a group, as a team. Like we could put in anybody and still get great results, which is a great testament to, just the players on our team, how we did the qualifiers to get strong players on the team, and we don't plan on stopping, slowing down anytime soon. Um, I do want to give one player a shout out though on Team Peru.
Yep.
Shout out to Alexander because Alexander definitely made sure that Peru always had somebody fighting somewhere near the front. So regardless of the score, Alexander, he definitely was putting in work and, he was definitely giving our team a fight in front. We could never, I don't think there was a race where we were in the front and Alexander wasn't a part of like the pack in the front. So shouts out to Alexander. And I knew it was gonna be like that because I've been racing against Alexander since I started playing this game, and he's always been a great player, especially with him being on the defender. Yeah, there was no way to really always like clearly, just get rid of him. So shout out to Alexander, man. He really shows he's one of the top players in this game for a reason, man. So
Yeah, I'd
big
definitely
shout outs.
say that Alexander's been the glue of this team. Because anytime they need
Hmm.
points in a big way, he's the one that shows up. Same way Manji's always showing up for Belgium. You got the same thing going on with Peru. Alexander's just always there. We said this last week. You know, Alexander's just one of those players. Like even though his team might be losing, you wonder like what would happen if he wasn't on his team. What would the scores be looking like?
Yeah,
Because
man,
yeah,
it's almost like there's like star players. Like he's Peru's star player and Manji is Belgium's star player.
yep, it's and like even though this is the first World Cup for Disney Speedstorm, this is a good place to start off. Yeah, you guys are taking L's, but who knows? The next tournament, Alexander brings in someone, and he has a running mate with him. Now he's looking like Kobe and Shaq, and you just get some good role
Hmm.
players that can play their role real well, and all of a sudden, Peru's not the laughing stock in Group A. They're looking like a threat now.
Yeah, man. And it's just everybody on Team Peru is they're really good players.
Yeah,
They probably just lack the experience of being
being
in
in
this
a
type of
tournament or this environment.
yeah. So I think like just like we said with Spain,
Mm-hmm.
Belgium, Belgium is also going through their growing pains right now too. So I mean, it's still not over though. So I still think even if they can't make the knockout stage, you still want to try to put your best foot forward and try to perform versus your next opponent.
Exactly. Could you imagine if Falcon, Alexander, and Starmondo came together and formed a team like Team Latin?
Yeah, man, that'll be a
That
strong
that'd
team.
be a strong team with just three people already. Just three people.
Yep. Hmm.
So, you know, that's maybe an idea you guys could use down the line if there's another uh World Cup based on countries and locations and regions. Definitely keep that in mind if you're watching.
Yeah, for sure, man. But shout outs to Peru. I know from what I got on my notes, uh actually yeah, I didn't take notes for this match. So I don't remember exactly what the end score was,
So the end score for this
but
one was 175 to 110 in favor of the United States. And in the last
okay.
race, as you guys were able to see, the score was also 198 to 90 in favor of Belgium.
Yeah, man. So shout out to both the teams that got the W's, but you know
Yes.
the Spain and Peru, like we said, keep your head up because there's still a lot more Speedstorm in the future to go on. So you know, just take your licks or take your wounds and lick them because you could always come back for more, come back swinging, come back harder
Yep.
and stronger.
And hey, it might not even be at this point, oh, we're looking to beat these teams, but one way you can kind of take back the L's you lost or take back the L's that you took from some of these teams is like you know that some of these teams are looking to place on point differential. How can we attack the teams that beat us? You know, do we got to beat down?
Mm-hmm.
Do we got to beat down their opponents or let their opponents score higher? You know what I mean? You can get real strategic with this and get back at some of the teams that took you guys out. I'm just saying.
Yep.
So it's not the end. There's still something you guys can still do. But
Hmm.
for the next race we got for week 3, we had a good one here, a real good one. This one was juicy from start to finish. We had France versus United Nations. So this was a big week, week 3, in terms of races across the board, only because every team by now was either tied for the top 3 spots or tied for the bottom 3 spots. You were either 0-2 or 2-0. And what that meant was
Mm-hmm.
one of the bottom 3 teams was finally going to get their first win, and one of the top 3 teams was finally going to get their first L. So, did we show out with this week? So, this week we had, like I said, France and United Nations. This one was juicy, to say the least. Dano, what you got for us?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, man. So I had France going in as the favorites, which I feel like most teams did since France has been performing extremely well
Yep.
up to this point. Um, and I will not lie, man. The United Nations, they surprised me a lot in this match because in my notes, literally, um, France and United Nations were literally tied by the halfway point
Mm-hmm.
by race 4. They were tied in points. So that means United Nation they were fighting, man, because the first 2 races, United Nations actually gets the edge in points over France. So, I think United Nations definitely wanted to come and show that hey, they're here to fight, man. They like there's no way like they trying to get this W over France, man. Like who cares if France is undefeated right now? But shit, they gotta try to get this W some way. So
Yep.
United Nations definitely out here swinging, and they just it looked like they kind of put France on ice, man. Kind of put France on ice, and me as being a observer, it definitely opened my eyes to some of France's weaknesses. So I
Uh-oh.
definitely got to keep that up. I won't say anything on here, but I definitely got to keep that in mind for possibly a knockout stage matchup versus
We
them.
did say last week that teams from other groups was looking at each other. France,
Mm-hmm.
USA
You
had
have
their
to,
eyes on
man.
you, so
Yeah, man. Hey, it's so crazy? I was streaming Kingdom Hearts and Seth actually came in my stream and we were like chatting it up. And he said that France actually wants to go against USA. So
ooh.
I hope we actually end up facing each other in the knockout round.
Hey,
I'd
France,
like to see how that go.
Y'all getting ahead of yourselves. You gotta race us first.
Hey, that's true. That is true. You gotta go against the Canadians first,
Yes,
France.
sir. We the mini boss. They the they the final boss.
Do you have anything to say on what you observed in this match if you watched it?
I want to say this was a good race from start to finish. I do also want to give a round of applause or pound it back to Team United Nations because, like I said, from week one, they are no slouch. Even though they've lost every week so far, the fact that the scores are always close should show you that this team is not to be slept on. This team will always show up and they'll always do their best to at least keep it relatively competitive with the other team they're going against. And to be honest, I have no complaints with UN. The only thing I would say is if they were able to somehow get Serbian up into some of the better pole positions, it would have definitely helped them in terms of the numbers game. But apart from that, Hitziaga has always been a standout for Team United Nations. And I see they made a change this week from last week with Haydef racing this time. And you can kind of tell, like, with Haydef back in the lineup, it really kept things competitive because in terms of points, he had, I want to say, the third most points in this race because
Nice.
we had Hisiago first place with 51, Kabrut and Seth, a substitution duo with 45, and then Haydef with 39, which was third, and then the other two races with 39 were Tony and Gact, which were another substitution duo. So really and truly, Haydef was the third best racer in this tournament. If you want to be technical, you
Yeah.
could say second in this race at least because he was racing by himself, no substitutions.
Yeah, but but see, here's the thing that goes and shows one of the United Nations weaknesses because on my notes I have here, and I noticed this, uh, and I think this hurt United Nations the most is their brawler. I believe it was the Darth Tang. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He got in for like the first four matches. He got like for and as a brawler, this kind of hurt the team, but he got sixth, seventh, eighth, and eighth
Yes,
by the
so
fifth
that
match.
is actually Serbian G. So he ended up with 14 points in total. And that's what I meant by the only thing I could pick on is if he was able to get into a higher standing, like let's say fifth place for almost every race, this race could have looked a lot different.
hmm Did they end up subbing him for
No,
somebody? I feel like
no.
they did. They didn't.
It says on the spreadsheet right here that I could see that it was just him on Brawler. The only
Oh,
subs that
okay,
came from a
okay.
team was France.
Ah, okay. So you know what? So it seems like so Hey Death and who did you say was
Serbian.
another good performer
Oh, Hitsiaga.
on their team?
Hitsiaga.
Yeah, so Haydeth and Hitsuyaga, it looked like they were pretty much carrying the front load of the team.
Yep.
But even with their performances, the fact that their brawler kept getting,
Bottom three, bottom
pretty,
four.
yeah, they were like, it was almost like
It
they were
didn't
being
matter.
balanced out.
Yeah.
And that's not something you want against a team like France because France is going to take full advantage of that because France, for the most part, they got a pretty balancedly stacked team of
Yes,
strong
they do.
racers. So you can't afford to have any really glaring weaknesses when going against them. And I think France took advantage of that because by after game 5, UN loses the lead. Now, mind you, the UN has been in the lead, and France has, basically kept inching and inching forward in points until they finally snatched the lead. And
Yep.
shout out to Kabrut, man, because he was consistently getting first on defender, keeping France in the game. And after game 5, he one loses the lead, and it's downhill from there.
But you know what too? To piggyback off what you said earlier, it's crazy because as you said, Hadif and Hitsuyaga really came to play, which was a sound strategy because obviously that did work. But in terms of anything else they could have done, one would have figured that they would have used substitutions this week because in the previous 2 weeks they've been doing substitutions. So
Mm.
wouldn't you want to bring more teammates in as subs for this week when you know you're going up against France and you're using or your other two races on your team aren't as strong as yourselves? Because France,
Yeah,
even though they were strong, they could have. France could have easily went in there and said, "We're not going to use subs." But even though they have strong races on their team, they still brought in subs,
that's true.
which ultimately I think worked in their favor because they could just alternate. Hey, I'm better with this map. Let me get on this one. Oh, you're better with that one. Okay, you can get on this one. Or you're better with a certain character. You race this time. And in terms of United Nations, like yeah, you got two front runners, but the other two racers they're not picking up slack. And if you know you have more than enough races for substitutions, bring in a sub.
Oh, okay. So, okay, so I'm actually on the stream right now. France um versus
United Nations.
United Nations, and they actually did use a sub. So
Oh, so I
the
guess it just
first
doesn't show
half,
here.
yeah. So the first half was Dartang,
Okay.
and the second half was Serbian G.
Yeah.
So it
But
just looked
even
like the
then,
brawler class.
yeah, even then, even though they switched or they subbed, they still had the same stats. They both positioned in the same the same position. Like they both equally had the same amount of points from when they subbed,
Hey man.
which is crazy.
Yeah, I guess it definitely shows that United Nations.
Needs to work on their
I don't
sub
know.
game or try swapping different racers to different classes. Adif and Hitsuyaga
True.
can definitely play the classes they were playing, but everybody else, if not named Hadif and Hitsuyaga, should really work on alternating and trying to figure out which racers they're good with in the other two classes. Because if you guys can figure out that you're strong with certain racers and characters from other classes, that's the best way to use the subsystem, especially against a strong team like France.
Yeah. It's crazy because I'm looking at the final score and it's that that brawler class for United Nations really held them back, man.
Yeah,
Because in
man.
total they only got so it looks like they were down like France. It was 158 to 132, and yeah, the glaring one is brawlers with 14 points because for France, uh, I believe I don't know who their brawlers were. I don't know if it was Tony and Gak, but they got 39 points, man. That's a whole lot of point differential
Yep.
between the two brawler classes. So I don't know. They got to do something.
Yeah, which it doesn't take away from this race because it was still solid. Like I said, from start to finish. You know, a lot of people didn't really know who was gonna win this one until maybe after race 6, and even then, we were still probably thinking, United Nations can make a comeback just because they did so well in the first 4 races.
Mm-hmm.
So
Pretty much. But hey, man, France definitely still showing their dominance, being 3-0 going heading into week 4, man.
yes,
So
sir.
you know, I ain't gonna lie, man. The work's gonna be cut out for whoever goes against them. Actually, I believe the team that goes against them
It's
is Team
Brazil.
Brazil,
Yep,
which
another
is
team that's
that's gonna be
undefeated
a man.
gonna take their
Yeah,
first
that's
L
gonna be a
this week.
matchup. hmm So that's gonna be a crazy matchup, man. That's actually one of the matches that I'm looking forward to the most in week 4.
Okay. But aside from France and United Nations, solid performance by both teams.
Mhm.
Shout outs to both teams because, although France did show their dominance, I can't really pinpoint to one specific racer who stood out because they did use subs. But in terms of maybe individuals that I could give flowers to, definitely Hadif and Hitsuyaga for keeping their team afloat in this one because
100%.
didn't have subs and it was just all merit. And it showed, especially Hitsuyaga being the biggest standout in this one with the most points at 51. So like we said with Manji and like we said with Starmondo, those are the glue for their team. Definitely got Hitsuyaga and Hadif being the glue for this team.
Yep. And, they're still fortunate because they have multiple people that can perform well. They just need the people that are underperforming to
To perform
perform
better.
better than they've been doing, and they'd actually be a pretty solid team.
My thoughts exactly.
Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you at the next one.